Hi, how's everyone doing today? I was watching Cases Live today because I'm planning in my head. I want to do the Mackenzie Cirillo, but I decided to go ahead and take a second and do another video on the Gypsy Rose community and kind of go down a little bit of memory lane of what it was like being part of the community when Gypsy got out and answer the question, who knows the most about the Gypverse? Because there's plenty of creators who fight over. There's who knows the most. There's plenty of people who shout out, oh no, this person knows the most, this person. And so yesterday's video, I kind of went over a little bit of past with Becca Scoops when she became popular and everything. Because here we go. Once again, you have Fancy Maselli was inside the family for a few years. She's personally talked to Gypsy while she was in prison. I don't know a lot about Natasha Cooper because I've seen some of her videos, but I know she's been covering it just as long as Fancy. And same with Out of Context Barb. I know she's been covering Gypsy, I think, for around 5 years prior to Gypsy getting out of prison. She talks about it. If you go back to some of her older videos, she'll talk about it. So you have a few creators who had been digging through this for years. And then Gypsy gets out of prison. And I sat on it for I think a month. Because I came in, I think, in February. Because everybody kept asking the question, why didn't Gypsy just leave? She could have just walked out with Nick. She had the bus tickets. She could have just left. And so I made a video to answer that question. I was reminded of that TV show, Pretty Little Liars, where they said two can keep a secret if one is gone. And I kind of started people saying that in the Gypsy community after that. People started saying, it's because. So all of us brought our own little ideas like that. Like everybody knew, okay, they'd done all this fraud, blah, blah, blah. And in the show, the Hulu show, Joey King, they present Dee Dee saying to her, you're over 18. If I get in trouble for all this fraud, so will you. And so Gypsy had to only have her story. It couldn't be hers versus her mom's. She would never get to. Her and her mom would both end up in prison at that point. And you could actually get in longer time. It would have been can you imagine if Dee Dee didn't pass away and they found out about all the fraud? Because there is rumors about that, and we've talked about that in the Gypsy community, about they were on the verge, and Dee Dee was trying to age Gypsy back down and move to Florida because the doctor that moved them from New Orleans to Missouri then moved to Florida, and Dee Dee was going to restart this whole scheme all over again. And so Gypsy did not want to. So they did go to Disneyland one last time, and she told Gypsy to pretend she was 12, 13, something like that, really young. Gypsy didn't want to do it. She couldn't do it. She couldn't age herself back again and replay out 5 more years in a house with her mother. And so I came in talking about, like, yeah, two can keep a secret, like, because we don't know Dee Dee's side of the story. And you can go back on my stream and go look at that video. You can go back there. And by the time I had hopped on Morbid's panel, Starlight asked who I was, and Morbid said, I've seen a couple of her videos. And so he let me up on his panel because he had seen some of the things I had already said. And so most of us would sit there. Fancy would go live. She would talk about the medical records and, kinds of crazy stuff. And Natasha Cooper is more on Rumble, so I didn't watch her much. Sorry, my throat keeps going dry from talking. It's very dry out here in Utah right now. And out of context at that point, she didn't really go up on panels. She did her own video things, and I like to, and so I went around to all people's lives. I watched who's that one psychic? She was really great. She had some good ideas. I didn't totally believe in psychic ability, but her ideas were pretty spot on. Like, she's the one who released the photos on Gypsy's or was it Dee Dee's birthday? Dee Dee's birthday? Released the whole Google Drive unedited in all of its. If you weren't prepared to see the crime scene because Fancy and Natasha Cooper had both let out a certain amount of the photos for people to see. And then they chose what photos got sent out, and they also censored them, put the little black blocks over them. And these got released in all of its rawness. Like, so all of us had the same knowledge. Whatever people like Fancy and stuff would share the medical records, and she would show them. And then everybody had the Hulu TV show. Everybody had the everything that the police had released up to this point publicly without doing a FOIA request, like the interview videos. Like, I would go live and just go over these interview videos because there's little tidbits in those interview videos that people would miss, and you're like, whoa, listen to what Nick says right here, and it's like, and we'd go over that. And here's the thing, Becca Scoops comes in and she's doing her own thing, which some true crime creators do. There's Stephanie Harlow out there, there's Seriously, there's Call Me Chris, like, there's a bunch of, like, the true crime community is huge. Okay, it's huge. And everybody does their own thing. We were a rare thing where I started out doing my own thing, but then I wanted to go up on Morbid's panel. And I met Fancy up there, which was really amazing for me to meet Fancy up there because I wanted to test my knowledge against hers. And if she agreed with the things that I said, I felt like I was a very knowledgeable creator, which I was. Like, I think there's only one thing Fancy disagreed with me on, but I can't go back on Morbid's videos, so I can't go back and see that because I tried yesterday to go back on Morbid's videos. But it was really great going toe-to-toe with Fancy because, well, she'd been on this case for years. And then Nina comes in, like, in March, and she does some pro videos, some pro Gypsy videos. Like, she talks about how she's so smart and she's gonna leave Ryan and he deserves it. And she's like all coy and she's working for Ulta Beauty or something Sephora at this time. And she's personally messaging Gypsy. She is in private message with Gypsy. And her people are saying, Nina, don't trust Gypsy. She's bad. She's bad. And Nina's like, I know you guys want me to distrust her, but. And then Gypsy private messages Nina this really long letter and says, do not put this on stream. Do not show this to anybody. And so Nina agrees to keep their conversation private. And at this time, Bree had met with Christy while Gypsy was in jail just before Gypsy got out. And so Bree had formed a relationship with Christy, but not Gypsy at this point. Well, so it was basically Bree and Christy against Nina and Gypsy because Christy did not like Nina. And so it was those two against these two. And then Gypsy took the letter she sent to Nina and gave it to Bree for some reason. And when she gave it to Bree and Nina found out, that just blew Nina up and she exploded into anti-Gypsy after that. Like, you cross Nina and she's done with you. And then she exploded into the anti-Gypsy and started watching the show, like all of us. And then we all started watching the show and we all started going live and going on each other's lives and discussing the show. And she was so fired up about being anti-Gypsy. The second Gypsy turned to Bree. And so you can go, first of all, it's all on Nina's. You can go watch it yourself. And two, if I dig enough in my videos, I made a video about this, about Nina. I did. I made a video about the beginnings of Nina because I've never liked her attitude. And I don't know where she gets her info from, and I don't always believe it. And then, like I talked about, I remember the rise of Toddy One Skip and everything. Toddy would come on and just give her 2 cents about Gypsy's behavior. Not much the crime, a little bit the crime, but more of the behaviors that was going on. And so you have all of us creators that are kind of running around each other's streams. Like, I'm in Toddy's stream while she's live chatting at Toddy and saying hi to Toddy. And I'm in Morbid's lives, I'm in Starlight's live. We're all wandering around, fancy everybody, just not Natasha Cooper. And then Barb does somewhere join in. I can't remember when, but she mostly kind of did her own thing for a very long time, and then she came in. And a lot of the things is I know people hate Morbid, but you got to speak the truth no matter what you feel about somebody. A lot of us streamers did filter through Morbid's channel because he was the only streamer that did a live open panel. Anybody was welcome, whether you were covering Gypsy Rose or you just wanted. So that's where like Apple Charlotte and Nicole and everybody come in, is because they liked being up on panel. They liked talking about the show, but they were not streamers that streamed Gypsy every day and talked about the shows every day. And so all of us, we filtered through Morbid's a little bit, and that's how we all kind of connect. And eventually, yes, Becca Scoops gets up there. So Becca Scoops, what she does is she comes in with no more information than any of us. She has the same info as us. She has the same videos as us. She has all the same stuff as us. The only thing that Becca does differently is she never goes live. What she does is she puts together a video, and she takes that video and she puts it on. And so everything's organized, the information. So to get information off me, Fancy, Morbid, Starlight, Barb, anybody you want, Toddy, anybody you want to talk about that runs around this community, You got to join our lives. You got to ask us questions. You got to come up on our panels. You got to talk to us. What Becca did was she put it all in a video, all in one video, just this clean. Here, you don't have to search the internet for all this info. I'm gonna put it all in one video, nice, and that's all she did. She put, and go, you probably go look at the beginning comments, and that's what people said is, thank you for putting all this information in one area, so we can just go to one video instead of 10 different streamers and then do our own internet search and watch the show and do this and do that. So she doesn't know any more than any of us. She just took the info that we were talking about and she laid it out in a series of videos. And she said she meant to do one video. No, I think in the first video she says something about this is one of 4 or 6 was her original plan. She was going to do a small series. And then I think be done. I don't know. And then by video 4, she started blowing up, which was in June, 6 months after Gypsy got out. After people, about a month or so after the airing of Life After Lockup. I was surprised to see that she did eventually start going live and showing her face. That was a surprise to me that she eventually went live and started showing her face. Huh. I missed some things while I was taking a break from the Gypverse, because when I left the Gypverse, Morbid and Fancy were fighting. People would come on my live stream and say, Rose, don't talk about the fancy thing, because if you talk about the fancy thing, whatever happened to the Chillicothe thing? Because when I left, Fancy was avoiding going back to Chillicothe to face the charges. I haven't checked on that in a while. Let's check on that. I haven't checked on that in a while. Because search by litigant name. Okay, let's see. I'm like, I wonder if my computer remembers it. Probably not. Yeah. It's a popular name. Okay, hold on. Search by litigant. Let's look at this again. Okay. Do they have... Was it Chillicothe? I don't know. I'm trying to remember the county. What was the county? Was it criminal? Criminal. Infraction? Probate? Traffic, municipal, criminal maybe? And it was in 2024, right? Let's see if we can find it. Is it this one? Yeah, I think so. I remember Judge Lemur was the judge. Okay, docket entries. Okay, so yeah, see, look at this. Failure to appear. Oh, why isn't it showing it? Oh my gosh. Gosh darn it. I thought it's supposed to follow. Hold on a sec. Replay. Okay. I told it to follow my screen. Hold on. Okay. Shares. Okay, share. There we go. Missouri court. Okay, so yeah, 10/30/2024. You have motion filed to recall warrant for failure to appear. She has a warrant issued for failure to appear. And like that's it. No scheduled hearings. Like 6/11/2025. What's this? Okay, they've summoned her. So they sent out a summons, but it's past June of 2025. Her warrant goes all the way to 2027. Making false report. Yeah, it is the making false report. Like, I don't get this. Like, how did she get away with not going to this? Never getting arrested. It's been sitting here frozen in time with this docket entry. She's frozen in time. Trying to think of what her buddy's name was that with her, Sarah something. Anderson? Criminal? Yeah, that's her. Let's see. Service information, scheduled hearings, docket entries. Entry of appearance filed. So she showed up. Motion to withdraw of counsel. So you have the warrant that was issued, failure to appear. And then 6/30/2025, entry of appearance, electronic filing certificate of service. So she's withdrawing his counsel. He appears. So she got new counsel, basically. Susan left. Michael Neswick came in. They're just ignoring these summons. Does it say what date she's supposed to come in? It just summons her. Date of hearing, July 17, 2024. Like, it's just crazy. Like, somehow they're just walking away from all that. They're just, no, it's okay. And that's the last I was covering is this crazy drama. And then, yeah, then you have Into the Weeds who got into it because they were there at Chillicothe. I don't know. Okay, so anyways, yes. But the thing is, like I said, I don't think there's only at least a minimum of 3 people that know what happened that night, possibly. A minimum of 3 because I'm saying that there's Gypsy and I'm saying that there's Nick and I'm saying that there's Dee Dee herself. And then there's theories that add in Dan on the 9th because Gypsy keeps getting her mother's death date wrong. And so did the police. She's supposed to be on June 10th, but they keep saying the 9th. As Gypsy told him the 9th. But Nick wasn't there till the morning of the 10th, and text message proves it. And then there's also people have been asking about David Blanchard. There is the theory that this all went down in the shed because Gypsy they had like 3 sheds outside. And one of those sheds was Gypsy's little playroom shed where she did all of her videos to some of the guys she met at Comic-Con and whatnot, and she did her little videos for everybody. And that David Blanchard helped move things back in. And so the reason why David Blanchard went through the window was because he was making sure that Gypsy wasn't in the house anymore, that everything was clear. He knew where Dee Dee was. And so he didn't walk in that room because he knew, because he had helped 5 nights prior. And so there's all these things that we can just speculate and say, but really, oh man, that one YouTube channel drives me nuts. They are very manipulative and horrible, and Nick's dad needs to fire them because they keep saying they're going to speak for Nick and they don't. And I have not checked their YouTube in like over 6 months because I got tired of it, and people are like, "Oh, they put up another video," and oh, so tired of it. But Nick keeps saying he's going to speak out. I'm trying to remember what it's called. What is that? I forgot the channel name. But they keep saying he's going to speak out, that he's holding in some truth. but they're very manipulative and rude about it. Mm. Anyways, yeah, I think that's kind of where I wanted to just go with this, is just talk about like making this documentary isn't going to do anything. All it's going to do is spread all of our different opinions as facts, and they're not. They're just, we're all speculating. We all have the autopsy, and we have the crime scene photos, and we all have the same interrogation videos, and we all have the whatever medical records, and now the dance videos and the FOIA stuff, and we have this and we have that, and we all have the same dang things, but none of us have facts. Just like any cop who goes and investigates and charges, you make an educated guess, and that's all we got is this big educated guess. There's like so many theories. Like I said, there's the theory that Dan was there. The tire tracks on the lawn say that maybe Dan was there. Because why would there be tire tracks and cigarette butts if Dan wasn't there? And then you have David Blanchard being very odd and weird because he might have helped with the aftermath. It could have been all of them. Dan could have been there and took off and left Gypsy high and dry and said, "Oh, I'm not gonna." And then David Blanchard helped out, and then Nick Godejohn came over the next day, or that later that morning, from because everything went down on the 9th, and then he comes over in the early AM hours on the 10th. And there's a reason Dee Dee didn't appear to fight back. And so there's that. And then there's the theory that me and 13th Hour were looking at the wounds on Dee Dee's back, going, those are coming from two separate directions. So that was two people going, okay, 1, 2, 3, go. You know, because there's this direction and then there's this direction, looking like one person was sitting up here by the head, one person was sitting back here by the hip, by the left hip, under the arm. And it was a together thing. But there's also not much red stuff, so it also, you can say she was already gone when they did the together thing. It was just to make Nick think he did it, because because Gypsy she bought Nick a round trip bus ticket. She didn't buy herself a ticket to Wisconsin. She never meant to go to Wisconsin with Nick, and people skip over that detail, that she never had a ticket. So the whole plan was to frame Nick and send him home. Mail the evidence to his home and send him home. And then she was going to head off to Arkansas with Dan. Only it looks like Dan peeled out of the front yard and got scared and said, "Nah, I ain't not doing this." Anyways, let me know what you guys want me to cover more on the Gypsy Rose. I'm preparing to cover a video on what you call it. I do want to do Mackenzie Phillips. I got a few questions about that case. I love talking about crime and stuff, and I want to come back and do more crime talk. Um, and there's some few things that I got to tie to this Mackenzie Phillips or Mackenzie, not Phillips. Why I keep saying Phillips? Mackenzie Shirillo case that I think is something to think about. So maybe I'll do that later today. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. My husband's out mowing the lawn, so I thought I would do this Gypsy one real quick because Case was live talking about some of this stuff, and I don't want to wear out my welcome and go up on his panel and do a lot of talking. So I come over here and I do my talking over here because this is my channel where I can say what I want. And I watch people scream stuff out in the comment section, and I'm just like, here, I'll answer your question, okay? Because Becca Scoops doesn't know everything. She just thinks she does, and that was the point of yesterday's video, to show that she's trying to take over our community, say she's the end all be all, and say that she built it, and she did not. She came in she got popular 6 months after everybody else was covering it. So I don't even know when she touched down to Morbid's panels. Like, it had to be like maybe August or something of 2024, like a couple months after she became popular, like she touched down on it. Anyways, love you guys. Have a great Memorial Day. Remember those who have been in our military service, fought for this country, either lived through it or died through it, but either way, they had to see what they had to see. And maybe I'll go live. I don't know. I don't know what to do right now.